There we go. We're all together. It's been 10 days, but we're all together. I missed you guys.
Hey guys, how you doing? Matthew Bueller.
Oh, don't worry. I'm here. Relatively alive and ready to go.
Oh boy.
Well, so how's your international break, fellas?
When do we play Brentford? It's coming up, right? Saturday? Soon? Can't wait. Need it now?
Exactly. It can't come soon enough.
Anything is better than the international break at this point.
Especially when you get to watch a team like the U.S.
Ugh.
Let's just have all Nations League all the time.
Nations League look good. There's some interesting matches, some comebacks, mind you, and some of the Chelsea boys actually playing well and getting some goals.
So sad for N'Golo Kante that he couldn't lift a trophy there.
Yeah,
but
he's done enough. He can take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, very, very true. All right. Well, as always, actually, you know, not as always, because Parker pointed out to me before we started here. I missed our introduction last week. So, for those of you just joining us, or those of you who have joined us before, welcome to the Flag Stays Down podcast. I got myself, Andy. You can find me on Twitter at Comiskey North. And then you got my two friends, two buddies, two brothers from another mother's, Parker Gross, at DJ Parkour. And then you got Matt, who still can't unlock his Twitter.
Glad to be.
All right. So what are we working on tonight, boys, before we get into the soccer?
I still have my Rocknar Minnesota rye whiskey that still chipping away at. I've been doing a bit of work travel, so haven't been around as much. Thanks for holding down the fort last week, boys, without me. But now happy to be here. Happy to have a bourbon. So cheers.
So I was at Total Wine today. And yeah, I know. That's always dangerous. It's a great start to any sentence. But I was at Total Wine today, and I was going to go pick up my normal bourbon, which is normally Noble Oak. And then I came across Slipknot, Iowa, number 9.
Oh.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So, picked up a bottle of it. It's pretty good. I wasn't expecting like anything outstanding, but it's actually pretty good, pretty smooth. So I would recommend.
You know, that's always in my top 3 when I go to Total Wine, and then it never ends up making it all the way out of the store with me. So I'm gonna have to check that out.
And I'm the Slipknot fan that pre-ordered it and got the autographed bottle. So.
Touche. Cheers to you.
Well played, sir.
It is delicious, though. I got one of the regular and then one of the reserve. Both are pretty spot on. So good stuff.
Nice. And me here, I got thought I was getting a local something or other when I was I do a lot of travel for work. It's when I was on my most recent adventure, but turns out it's just Tin Cup from Denver. It's serviceable, I'll say that.
Usually not one that you great with. Usually that's more of a mixer.
Nice full glass here.
Enjoy.
When in Rome.
All right. Well, let's get into some Chelsea, some non-Chelsea, some whatever comes to mind tonight, boys. You know, the first thing we just finished watching at the time of recording here, U.S. against Costa Rica, 2-1 victory for the U.S. It's been a rough qualifying process. I know me personally, I've been riding the Berhalter out train since he was hired, and this process has not helped that at all. How are you guys feeling right now temporarily top of the group in the octagon.
The fact that we have to struggle to be the top of the group in the octagon is embarrassing with the amount of talent that we have. And this has been something that has been growing for a while, where, you know, the way that it used to be, it was always the US, we need more people in Europe. We need more people starting and playing over there. Well, we have that now. We have a lot more people playing over in Europe. And we still have to grind out results and even lose to teams that on paper are less adequate than us. The problem is, you're like, I honestly, I don't know what the problem is. I think Berhalter doesn't have a handle on what he's trying to do. I think he is playing darts in the dark at this point. He's just going out there, throwing people out there and hoping that it works.
Well, Matt, you made an awesome point, because you're right. It's always been, you know, let's get more players to Europe. Let's get more players playing in Europe's top leagues, playing for top teams. I remember it being such a big deal when Onyewu went and played for AC Milan. Granted, he didn't play a whole lot, but it was a big deal at the time. It was, you know, the biggest transfer, you know, probably since Alexi Lalas playing in Italy. Well, now we have the guys playing in Europe, like you said, but we have an MLS manager who plays, what was it? It was like 8 out of the starting 11 against Panama.
Eight new people, right? 8 switches, right?
Yeah, and the majority of them were MLS players. What's the point of pushing these guys over to Europe and playing in top leagues if we're going to be like, nah, MLS has got this? Especially when your head coach is an MLS coach who has a 500 record in MLS. He's not even a good MLS coach. I don't get it.
I don't care for Berhalter. I don't think he's the right man for the job. It seems like darts is a fairly accurate description, Matt. He's trying a lot of different things, and I guess you can make the argument that now is the time to try a bunch of these things, assuming that we do qualify and make it through. I think we have a lot of problems, though. I think consistency is a big problem. Injuries, you have to kind of point them out, that we don't have our best 11 out there, which is noteworthy. Missing Pulisic is missing Gio is big. Weston doing Weston things, getting himself into a little bit of trouble. I don't think that helps anything for the U.S. men. But man, I would just love to see a consistent lineup. Not seeing Pepe in the starting lineup against Panama was silly to me. Like, he's been our one of our best players, one of the only people that can score for us, and so I'm terrified of this team. I think if we make it to the World Cup, great. Like, we did better than last time. Awesome, super. Pat yourselves on the back. Even if we make it out of groups, I think once we face a tough opponent, we're going to be embarrassed, because we're getting embarrassed by not top opponents. Can you imagine our squad going up against England, against Germany, Italy, France? We would be demolished, and we are nowhere close. And I know those top teams have always been in a league on their own, always been up here, but we have to be able to go out there and at least put up a squad that can take it to them a little bit. Is that asking so much? And I don't think we're even close to that.
So I would argue one thing. I think during the group stage, the fact that you missed out on the last World Cup, you should be throwing as much as you can to make sure that you qualify. And to me, with what we've seen in these qualifiers, it doesn't look like that. It looks like it's the same mentality of, we're just going to kind of coast through this and just barely make it so that we get in. Well, we tried that last time, and we got burned. We got absolutely burned. And now we're trying to do that again. We're trying to do the exact same thing again. And now we're questioning, are we even going to make it out of the group stage? Why are we losing to these teams? Why are we starting off slow? Like, to me, it seems like we're doing the same thing over again. I will never forget Taylor Twellman's rant about insanity. I still think it holds true now. To me, it seems like the only thing that has changed is the manager and the fact that we have more players over playing in Europe. Other than that, same team, same mentality, different year.
The craziest thing is that we still haven't, in, if you want to count it, 4 years since we got eliminated from World Cup, or 8 years going back to the last time we were in World Cup, we still haven't developed a goal scorer. I mean, God, I thought Josie Altidore probably should have been in this team. Giannis Hazardy is your best forward. That's sad. I mean, I realized tonight playing in Columbus, it was great. You got the ovation when he came on, and he's a hard worker. He's a guy who played for the Crew for many years. But if that's what we're looking forward to, God, this team is tough to watch.
We need a consistent goal scorer, and then we need consistent delivery and service. And the service that I've seen from our team has just been spotty at best. We are usually able to get down the flanks okay, and then just god awful service into the box, and no one to do anything with it when they get there. So I don't know, man. This I don't have the highest of hopes for this U.S. team. I think we're going to limp our way into the World Cup and then get our asses handed to us a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't make it out of our group once the World Cup draws come out.
Well, you know that the U.S. is going to end up in the group of death, because always.
Yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, they put themselves in a position. Like, they haven't shown to be a top caliber team, despite the talent that we do have when everybody's healthy. We've never shown that we're a team that can perform under pressure or when it counts. We're a team that either A, gets lucky, or B, just does the bare minimum to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and I guess the last gripe I have with the U.S. national team is with Berhalter. Squad selection, whatever. If you're justifying it by saying you're rotating, fine. If you want the MLS guys, fine. You're the manager, whatever. I don't think he has any tactics. He kind of just puts 11 guys out there, and I think it was Urban Meyer this week who says, "No, I don't micromanage what goes on out there. I just put the guys out there." Like, no, you're the coach. It's your ideas that should be going on the pitch. And Christian Pulisic backed that up, last month when he said we need a change in ideas, or any ideas. We have the talent. The young guys certainly are the future. They're the now. But they need the direction. And I think a perfect manager for this team would be Frankie Lampard.
Ooh.
He's got the MLS experience. He played 4 months at NYCFC.
City. Scored for City, I think.
We don't talk about that. Well, let's certainly we'll pour one out when the U.S. fails to qualify for the World Cup. But
I'll say one thing on that, Andy. We all saw what happened when Frank was in charge of Chelsea, and we were in 8th place in the league. And then a manager that comes in that kind of knows what he's doing, that has a good idea and some tactics to back it up, and a pretty solid game plan. What that can do to a team when you have the talent, like, you just look at it, you see what happens when a manager that knows his shit, knows what's going on, knows how to control the team, knows how to rotate, things like that. Just what big of a difference it makes. And so I think getting Berhalter out does not solve all of our problems. It never does, but it instantly can improve on a lot of things and at least give some consistency. I think the biggest thing we lack is consistency. Really, I do. It seems haphazard. It seems that we're changing all the time, that we're trying different things all the time, and we need to pick a style that we can play to, that fits our team, that we can play well, and then implement it and sort of like gel that together with the squad and then go forward with it. And for better or worse, if it ends up losing to Germany, it loses to Germany. Most things do in this world, but but we got to have some sort of identity that we can bring to the table and say, hey, here we are, and this is what we do, and this is what our strengths are. And until we find that, I think we're going to struggle.
Yeah, the only time in my lifetime that I can remember that we had that, and we were joking amongst ourselves earlier about what if the U.S. joined the Super League as the Real Madrid of the group. Yeah, I was joking. Bob Bradley would be our manager in that case, and that's the last time the U.S. had an identity. It was god awful to watch, but you knew what was going to happen. The players knew what we were going to do. We were going to concede possession, kick it long on the counter. But it worked a fair amount. But again, it certainly wasn't the most beautiful thing to watch.
So, Collins, you have Lamps as your preferred next manager of the U.S. men's national team.
I do.
Parker, what say you?
I don't know, man. I don't know the ranks well enough to be able to comment on it. I would love to see someone young to sort of fit the identity of the team, and someone who's had some success in maybe some of the lower divisions or the youth of men's national team, and just with some creative ideas and like I said, some identity. But I don't know this well enough. I'm not going to pretend to sit here and know who the best fit would be.
Okay, fine. Who would you like to see? You can have anybody you want. Doesn't matter if you're associated with the team right now. If you could have anybody you want, who would you have?
That's a good question. Why don't we just sign up Tommy T? Let's get Tuchel.
I'm in.
We'll get some of that German engineering talent, and he'll be able to whip our boys in shape. And Pulisic knows him well, and Pulisic can kind of go to bat for him, and we'll get Tuchel there. And we had Jurgen Klinsmann. I mean, why not Thomas Tuchel?
And Pulisic will still come off the bench for Tuchel.
Of course.
When he's healthy.
Matt, what about you?
Just for entertainment purposes, I would love to see Jurgen Klopp as the U.S. men's national team manager. The energy that he would bring to a very lifeless program like U.S. men's national team, seeing the energy and his style that he has at Liverpool, seeing that transferred over to the men's national team, to me, that would just be fun. I think it would be a lot more enjoyable to watch. I think it would definitely expand on a very stagnant philosophy that Berhalter has right now. I think it would also free up a lot of our young players and have them develop more, so that we can continue growing that idea of more U.S. players in Europe.
I would love to see Klopp's press in CONCACAF. I think that would wreak havoc on especially 39-year-old Costa Rica and all these aging teams and shit teams. I think that would be fantastic. That's a great choice. All right, well, let's move on to some more worldly football matters. Big news of the week. Newcastle United taken over by basically Saudi Arabia in a, let's see, last I saw it was about $400 million purchase from shithead Mike Ashley.
Glorified shithead Mike Ashley.
Thank you. So I have mixed feelings on the move. We as a group really have not talked it over a whole bunch. I would love to hear your guys' take on it.
Who goes first?
Sure, you talk first.
$400 million, a drop in the bucket for the net worth of the Saudi conglomerate or whatever they're calling it, the fund that they have purchased it. Is it odd that I'm criticizing the move owned by a Russian oligarch? Probably a bit. Where do we draw the line? I'm not one to say. I think it's good for the Premier League. Honestly, it brings anything that brings good attention and positive people and players to the Premier League overall is a good thing. I think it's a bit of a slippery slope. And one of my least favorite things about the world football game is the corruption in it with FIFA and UEFA and just a lot of the money under the table stuff that goes on that we all hear about. So it's not my favorite part of the game. I know it exists. I know this is a move that steps towards it and not away from it, I guess. But I think it's good for Newcastle. I don't blame the Newcastle fans for being excited about it. Chelsea fans, we all became Chelsea fans after the acquisition. I believe that's true. And we all kind of reaped the benefits of it. Had we been diehard fans before the acquisition, we'd be able to kind of comment on how we felt post and pre and post. But I'm fine supporting Chelsea, owned by Roman, and how he's done and what he's done with the club and how he's managed it. So overall, positive feelings towards it, and we're going to have another solid club in the Premier League in the next couple of years if they don't get relegated.
Yeah, I think. I think to an extent it's a good thing. When we looked at, I shared a graphic with you guys about the net worth or the actual worth of this Saudi group, and it was about $240 billion with a B. The next closest was Man City with $23 billion. That is quite a gap. I don't think it improves the reputation that the Premier League is the best league in European football, probably in the world. I don't think it improves that. I think now they're trying to me, it almost seems like somebody's trying to get into like a PSG in France type maneuver where everybody knows they have all the money and everybody's going to try and go there. They're going to buy whoever they want and do that. From that side of it, I don't like it. However, Newcastle's been looking for new ownership for probably 3-4 years. There were many deals that were turned down by Mike Ashley, and just because he's a stubborn prick. But it's one of those things where, unfortunately, it goes to show that in world football, money talks, and it's a sad truth that everybody has to deal with, and it's good for Newcastle, a team that's been struggling for a lot of years, who used to be, one of the top teams in the Premier League or in English football for a while, and then they've hit this rough patch, and Ashley wasn't willing to sell, and he finally got the payout he was looking for, and I just hope that by doing this, it doesn't try and turn it into like I said, like a PSG or like a Bayern in Germany, where you just have whatever kind of money you want. Luckily, Barcelona isn't in that position anymore, but that's a completely different topic. But I just hope it doesn't come to that.
What do you think, Collins?
The thing that rubs me the wrong way about all of it is, I'm perfectly fine. I'm quite the believer in capitalism. Whoever wants to buy whatever, if you have the money, you can buy it. Cool. I'm not okay with state governments, however you want to shroud it. I think they call it the FIP is what's officially buying it. But it's owned by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I think that's a very fine line. That's very similar to in Spain in the years of Franco. He didn't necessarily own Real Madrid, but he was a very public supporter of Real Madrid. And there's a lot of talk through the Franco years of Madrid getting government money, Madrid getting government favors, refs giving Madrid favorable calls because of that. I think government getting involved in sports is not a good thing. There's a reason why the Olympics makes sure that the individual Olympic committees are not directly related to the government. It has to be an independent party, because when you mix the two, that's when you have problems. And especially in the Premier League, where this year, in the past couple of years now, they've been fighting the fight to end racism. They've been having the rainbow laces. And now you have an owner who basically runs a country fundamentally opposed to those things. How do you bridge that gap? I don't understand it. And I'm sure within a year or 2 years, this will all blow over and it'll be like, okay, yeah, Newcastle just has lots of money. But the fact that it crossed that line, to me, is right now just astounding. I can't believe it.
I'm intrigued to see how they handle some of those things, if they will adopt the same kinds of campaigns or if they will kind of voice their opinion against it or not. My guess is they're going to be asked to stay in the shadows a little bit, especially in the near future. But one of the things I was thinking about with this, I know financial fair play is a bit of a joke and how it's been implemented. And all you need is a semi-creative accountant to get around it. But if they ever find a way to sort of implement a financial fair play that makes sense, it'll be interesting to see. I kind of hope, because I think the idea around financial fair play where you can't run at a loss, you can't just have your owner subsidize the club. I guess that's how I sort of understand the rules to be, is you can't just be subsidized by a wealthy owner. If they can find a way to implement that, I think it takes a lot of the steam out of it. So you can't just go out and buy whoever, whenever. I know the big clubs are always going to have a bit of an advantage in that, but if they can find a way to revise those rules to be a little bit more equitable, it could be interesting. It could be telling to see, and I just can't wait to see, the owner's box and some rainbow flags up there. I think that would be a great sight to see it at Newcastle.
So here would be my question, semi-rhetorical. Do Newcastle and Arsenal now flip places? Arsenal becomes the team constantly forced with relegation, and Newcastle becomes one of the top 6. And I'm picking out Arsenal for obvious reasons.
Well, I picked Arsenal to take 13th this year before the season started. So I was on board with the Arsenal down train. I just think that they're struggling to figure out their identity. Speaking of, this is the identity podcast, I guess. They're struggling to figure out who they are as a team. And now Newcastle, I think give them a year, but I could see them fighting for a top 6 spot in the next season. Maybe not this season, but next.
I would say, I don't know if Arsenal's a good comp, because I just saw some stat the other day about like top 10 most valuable squads in Europe or something like that, and they were like number 7 or something like that. But Kroenke still has money. He will still go out and buy players when it's convenient for him. The comp, I would say, I think Newcastle flips with Everton. Everton just had their takeover a couple of years ago by some Indian businessman, and they brought in Ancelotti, they brought in Jaimes, bought Moise Kean, and now that's all going away. Whether that's them pulling some money back, whether it's just Everton being Everton, I could see Everton for within the next 2-3 years being a relegation battle club, and Newcastle, after they're relegated this year and then coming back up, being a team that fights for the top 6.
So you think they're going down?
Yeah, well, I think last I checked, they're in 19th, and it's going to be hard to buy that many players in January and get them integrated. I think they need at least a year or two.
I think they barely survive on the last day of the season. I think it's going to be a 4-way race, and I think Newcastle squeaks it out. They end up in 17th.
Because a team accidentally loses on the last day of
so CONCACAF.
There were air quotes thrown out there, and I will add my own air quotes when I say this. There was a questionable red card and or penalty given at the end of the game for Newcastle.
Exactly.
Everybody mark it down. I can't wait to revisit this on the last match day.
Yeah, it is October 13th. It is podcast number 6 or 7 or something. Yeah, mark it down, guys.
31 matches to go.
Put it in the.
So do we think that, yes, having money is great? You know, we've seen Monaco down in the French league kind of make an ascendance and then fall back. We've seen what Man City did. We saw what Chelsea have done. We saw PSG. PSG kind of being the most astounding, ending Lyon winning that league, I think 9 years in a row. The Premier League is different, though. Premier League, there's money everywhere. Southampton is one of the most valuable squads in Europe, and they're 12th, 13th, something like that. You know, how do you guys think Chelsea reacts? What do you think? What do you think goes on at the bridge in relation to this?
Nothing. Business as usual. I mean, when have we ever been reactive to other clubs signing people? We handle our business. I think we do what we do. We continue to look for our youth to produce people, and we look to sign 1 or 2 players and do good business as we have. I don't think Chelsea's ever been. Well, I'll take a step back. Chelsea typically isn't the let's just go out and spend the most money kind of a club. We're a little bit more tactful in our approach and spending the money when it makes sense, but not necessarily just chasing the big dollars.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think you have to do anything. I really don't. I mean, we've talked about this. You look at the squad top to bottom, stacked. Like, if we're looking, or if the ownership group buying Newcastle is thinking they're going to come in and just get all these high caliber players, like, you know, we've all seen the jokes about, Messi going to Newcastle, Mbappe, Neymar, Ronaldo. Like, we've seen all of it. If you really think that they're all going to up and leave and go to Newcastle, of all places, just because of the money, that's not going to happen. Like, it's just not. Newcastle doesn't have a reputation of being a winning club. They haven't for a number of years. It's going to be hard to actually get that through in like a sales pitch to a player to have him come to Newcastle. I don't see it. I don't see it happening immediately. But then again, you look at that gap in comparison to, you know, Man City and what Newcastle have as far as, you know, wealth of the ownership group. Realistically, that group could buy the entire Premier League if they wanted to, probably twice over. So how do you? So I think it's something Newcastle is going to have to do over time. Again, you know, they have to develop some sort of identity. Right now, it's not a great one. It really isn't. It's a mid to bottom tier team that's usually in a relegation battle from day one, and something's got to change with that. Hopefully, they can get a few mid tier additions in the January window, kind of help build that brand a little bit more. But it's definitely not going to be an overnight thing.
And I think Chelsea's in a unique position here because we never have folded to this kind of investment in the league. Manchester United took a step back after City came in. Arsenal, big step back over the last 15 years. But Chelsea didn't. Chelsea just continued, like you guys have said, business as normal. And I'll never forget, because I wasn't here for Abramovich's takeover. I became a fan in the season following. So when City had their takeover, it was a big deal. I remember Robinho was supposed to come to Chelsea, and City, kind of flew in under the radar and offered crazy amount of money for him, which in the end, thank God, Robinho did not work out there. But you look at our following transfer window after that happened, brought in a solid number 2 keeper in Ross Turnbull. You brought in a solid young player, young forward who would go on to do big things, in Daniel Sturridge. Brought in Yuri Zhirkov, great left back. And you brought in Nemanja Matic, one of the best holding midfielders we've had, for a combined, $30 million. Chelsea will be fine. If anything, I think that this motivates Roman to spend the cash if necessary, but to keep looking for those holes where he can exploit transfers, youth setups, things like that, to keep us up top.
Agreed.
So speaking of transfers, there has been a couple rumors this week. The big one, and my favorite one, I know you guys don't necessarily agree, Eden Hazard making a return, whether it be in winter or in summer. Apparently the asking price is about $35 million plus Reece James. I don't know if I'm on board with that, but I am on board with Hazard returning.
Why?
What do you mean why?
State your case. Why?
Okay, number 1, club legend. Number 2, my son's named after him, so I'm all on board with that. Number 3, I don't want to see Ziyech and oh my God, I cannot believe I'm blanking on this name. Havertz. Shit. I don't want to see them just hanging out outside the box anymore. Eden Hazard will always attack people. We compare Christian Pulisic to him all the time. Can you imagine having a more experienced Christian Pulisic on the pitch? It'd be fantastic. You have another goal scoring option. You have a guy who has a relationship with Big Rom. Feed him all day. He will dribble at defenders. He will make moves, and he's in better shape than he was the last 2 years at Real Madrid. He's no longer Fat Hazard, but he's got the injuries. But for $35 million, I will take that.
No, you go ahead, Parker.
Are you, Matt? Are you pro or against this move? I don't know. Are you not for this?
It would depend on the price.
Okay, then I'll just take the opposing viewpoint here, because I almost think any price is too much for him at this stage. He is 30. He is injury ridden, and he is someone who doesn't historically track back and defend. What have we been saying on this podcast all along? What do we wish Ziyech does more of? What do we wish Kai Havertz does more of? I love Hazard. I absolutely love Hazard. I don't want this to come across as me not liking him. He is a phenomenal player. He's a Chelsea legend. He is a wonderful, wonderful. My favorite memories cheering for Chelsea involve Hazard in it. Like, I love the guy. I do. But I don't see a fit for him in this team. I would much, much, much rather sign someone young and hungry and fast and skillful. That's not injury ridden. That's not, I don't want to say washed up, but out of form. If he had went to Real and had a serviceable, showing where he wasn't like an all-star, he wasn't his Eden Hazard of before, but still showed a lot of those moments. I haven't seen any of them. Point me to one highlight of Aiden at Real where I can look at him and be like, oh yeah, that was him at Chelsea. Because I haven't seen one. I mean, you bring up his stats, he hasn't played a whole lot and he hasn't scored a whole lot. He hasn't done a whole lot. And I feel like if we spent any more than like 20 million pounds on him, that wouldn't be a good return on investment for us. It would be a good public relations move. It would be a good publicity move. Bring him back. You see this in like the NBA sometimes where you sign a guy to a 4-day contract to let him retire for the club. Okay, but if it was a free transfer, I'd be on board with this. If it's Reece James, I'm 100% out. If it's any significant amount of money, I'm not a fan of it. I want to say this with as much respect as possible because, like I said, I really do cheer for the guy, and I was hoping for him to have a good career at Real, but the fact of the matter is he didn't, and I don't need to see another bench spot go to someone who's going to be injured. So that's my take. I know it might not be popular. I've seen on Twitter, Chelsea Twitter, that it's not popular because I see the polls. I click no, don't do it, and I'm like voted 70-30, the other way. But that's my take.
So I'll split the fence a little bit on this. I see why you would bring him back. I think, first of all, I think him going to Madrid was strictly a childhood dream that he wanted to play for Madrid, and that was it. I don't think he was ever going to thrive in that league. I really don't. Especially Zidane was the manager at the time. I don't think he fit his system. We saw Gareth Bale. We saw him go there. And what happened? Well, he is probably playing on the European tour right now, golfing the links. Doing playing anywhere else right now, or at least Madrid during that time. I think they went there because of the reputation that Madrid had, and granted they were always a solid team. They had Ronaldo. They always had a very good squad. You go there to play with people like that, but then what happens when they leave? What happens when all of a sudden you don't care as much, and then you're injured all the time? You look at that with Hazard. He was never injured that much when he was with Chelsea. Never. I don't know if he was pulling like a somewhat of a Gareth Bale move by being there, if he was really taking his time. I think he wants to come back. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a mutual interest in that. However, we're not giving up Reece James. He's the heir apparent to Dave. We all know that. There's no way. First of all, Reece James alone for Eden Hazard, I would not even accept that. And Real wants 35 on top of that? Absolutely not. I could see something where maybe we do a Ziyech for a Hazard. That is something I could entertain because you're going to get about the same amount of defense out of it. We know that, so you're not really losing money there. But you're going to get somebody who's more attack-minded and who can take people more one-on-one. Somebody who is dual-footed versus Ziyech, who we all know he has a brilliant left foot, but it really hasn't shown its worth in the Premier League. You take him to a league more technical with La Liga, where people will play off you a little bit more and you have a little bit more chance to create and use whatever weapons you have at your disposal. I think that's a place that he would actually thrive in. Now, the counter to that, Chelsea takes a hit based on what they spent for Ziyech. But is it worth it? And then you do what Chelsea's done for, the however many other 30-year-olds that we've had for the last 5-6 years. You throw them on 1-2 year deals. If they don't perform, okay, fine. Then, go find another club, probably Arsenal. but it's just the way that it works. And like I said, I can see it both ways. It has to be the right conditions under which we would get him.
So I'm glad you brought up Ziyech, because that's a perfect comp. We brought in Ziyech for about 32 mil. Who would you rather have for 32 mil? Eden Hazard or Hakim Ziyech? Like you said, yeah, you want a guy who can play both-footed. You want a guy who can run at the defense. And I think you're spot on with La Liga and that system not being right for him. Because you look at his international numbers, you look at his numbers with Belgium, they haven't changed a bit. At Chelsea, Hazard scored about 85 goals in like 240 matches, so about 1 in 3 he's scoring. Since he's moved to Madrid, 6 goals in 17 appearances for Belgium. Same number. You can take it back even further, 2018, and you're sitting at 12 in 33. He's always going to give you a goal in about a third of the games. I think that the system just isn't right for him. But I do agree. Reece James off the table in that move. Ziyech, I could absolutely see. I think that'd be a great move. But if Madrid is looking for a wing back, I'd give him Alonso. I thought Alonso played well this past week in the Nations League, but I don't think he fits our system. And honestly, if push comes to shove, Dave. You can send Dave. That's probably, you're sending a 30-year-old, sending a position that they need. Sending club captain sucks, but you're getting back a leader in return.
That one would hurt to see Dave leave. I hope Dave ends his career at Chelsea. I know unlikely, given he'll probably be able to be serviceable somewhere else after we'll have our desires for him. But yeah, that would be a tough one for me to stomach.
I think you have to keep Dave for another. I think you have to keep Dave for at least another year, maybe 2, because you need Reece to really hone in on his defense. We know he can get up the pitch. We know he can throw in a great ball. That's fine. But Dave is a much better defender than Reece James. I think you need him. I don't think Reece has fully surpassed Dave, but Reece is definitely going to be the one taking over once Dave is done. And we know that. I don't think you can get rid of Dave yet. And then if you're talking about Hazard, if you were to run him on the right, you leave Mason on the left, or you leave Timo on the left, whatever the case is, well, then you have Dave to Hazard to Rom. How do you mess with that? I mean, it's something you have to think about. You have that dynamic too. That's something that it's been around for a while. I mean, it's not going to take them as long as 3 new people getting into a system. They're all people that have played together before. They kind of know how to operate with another. So I think for that sake, I also think Dave is off the table. Alonso, sure, send him. However, what about Chills? Where are we with Chills that we put Alonso on the chopping block before him?
I would say age. Age is the key factor there. Alonso's getting up there. Chills is in his mid-20s. He's entering his prime. I think, honestly, if you get rid of Alonso in this move, hypothetical move, and spend about $30 million, and then next summer you have Emerson coming back off loan, I don't think that drops off a whole lot. I think that's pretty solid move.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Colin. So you guys talked about it last week in the pod that we're pretty even keel with where Alonso and Chills are today, and then Ben's got age on his side. But I'll end with saying this, Matt. Your dream scenario there with Dave to Hazard to Rom is somewhat of a wet dream, but I would love to see it happen more than anyone. I don't know if it's going to. part of me just dreams about it, and then the other part says, like, you're not going to see this. One of those guys is going to be hurt, and someone's going to be limping up the side, and it's just not going to happen the way we think it's going to.
Well, it's just petition Dave to join the Belgian national team.
Now we're talking. creative structuring of deals there. I like it.
All right. So Parker, you had mentioned before we got started here that you wanted to touch briefly on the Juve match since you were off last week. What do you got?
Oh yeah. No, like I said, you guys did a good job of recapping everything, and I figured I'd throw my 2 cents in the ring for the Juve match just because I think you and Matt were fairly in agreement of it. Two things just stood out, and I'll run through this quickly. One, it was my first time that I saw the lineup, and I thought Tuchel got it wrong. And I haven't said that yet, and I thought Tuchel got it wrong. I thought Callum Hudson-Odoi should have been on the right wing back. I thought Chilwell should have been on the left wing back, and I thought Ruben Loftus-Cheek should have started. And he made all 3 of those subs, which basically says, Parker, you were right, says Thomas Tuchel. Like, you were right. I should have done this from the start. What was I thinking?
He slid into your DMs.
Exactly. He follows the pod. Thomas, if you're listening, give us a call. We'll get you on the pod. But it was the first time I looked at the lineup and thought he got it wrong. And I thought the team played much, much better once those guys were on, but it was a little bit too late, too little too late. And we were already playing catch up at that point. So I was disappointed in the match. However, and this is coming from me who says we need to compete for everything. I don't think we need to. I don't think we can use the excuse, we're playing for the league or we're only playing for Champions League. Like, we're playing for everything. We have the team and the depth to play for everything, and I fully stand behind that. However, I look at this as it's an away match in the Champions League qualifiers. It's not top priority. And so in my head, and maybe this is just the optimism fan in me, in my head, I discount it. It's a loss. It's a 1-0 loss. It was a good goal. It probably shouldn't have happened, but some of these things happen sometimes. And I don't think we did enough to win. I really don't. But I thought we did enough to draw. And if we all took a draw out of that match, I think we're all really happy. And kind of a smash and grab right after halftime goal from Chiesa, I believe, led to their win. And you know what? Like, hats off to Juve. They did their job there, and we didn't. But I don't freak out about it because it's not our top priority, and we're going to qualify for the knockout stage. We're still probably going to win that group. I think we will. And I'm not freaked out about it. So I'm not super mad about it. But that I realize that I'm on both sides of the fence here. I'm criticizing the lineup and things like that, and I'm not mad about the loss. So I understand I'm a little bit all over the place on my analysis, but those were my takeaway points, and I figured it was worth bringing up.
That's the fun of podcasting. You can be all over the place, and no one's going to hold you accountable for it.
Until the DMs come, of course.
Yes.
So Parker, you brought up something, and it kind of brought a question into my head. Do you take Chiesa, who has been rumored to be heading to Chelsea for a little over £100 million, do you take him over a $30 million move for Hazard?
How much money do I have? I mean, I think a Chiesa is a much better signing. I understand that he's more than triple the amount. It's really fun to spend money that's not mine. Tell people to spend $100 million. It's really easy for me to say, obviously. But do I think we're going to get a lot more production out of it? Let me answer the question like this, Matt. When you can only field 11 players at once, you need quality in each of those 11. And do I think Chiesa is a regular starter on our team? Yeah, I do. Do I think Eden Hazard is a regular starter on our team? No, I don't. So for the consistency, reliability factor, and then goals and production, Chiesa checks a lot of those boxes. Admittedly, I haven't watched him play a ton, but I liked what I saw in over the summer with him and watching a couple matches here and there. So I think he's a solid player, and I'd rather sign someone generally who's in like the prime of their career, who's in the 26 to 28 age range, who can sign a decent longer contract that I'm not afraid about, and then bring the production.
Collins, any thoughts?
Hazard, less money, same production. So, anyways, this weekend we play Brentford. Sneaky good Brentford.
The Bees.
Seventh in the league. They have 7 points in their last 3 games, including a 3-3 draw against Liverpool and beating West Ham 2-1. They also beat Arsenal 2-0 on the opening day, which, man, this is making up for 10 days of not shitting on Arsenal, huh?
Sorry about it, Arsenal.
Well, Brentford was playing a JV squad, so let's throw that there.
Are we to the point where we can't call an Arsenal victory a big win anymore? It's just not even worth talking about.
I mean, they are the 5th best club in London, so.
What history?
Real quick, did you guys see Chelsea's tweet today about shoot? Let me bring it up here. It was I'm sure you guys have seen all the red flag posts all over the place. This one was basically like, I only cheer for teams that haven't won European, or I only cheer for London teams that haven't won European Cups. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Oh, loved it.
It's good stuff.
All right. So, anyways, back to Brentford. Got them in Brentford. It'll be Saturday, 11:30 Central. I don't know much about Brentford. I know they have some big results. I don't really know how to feel about it. How do you guys feel?
I'm slightly nervous. I don't like the idea of playing a Brentford team with not a ton of internationals that have to be associated with international break. And we have a good portion of our team that is tied to international break. And then having to come back from that, get back to club, and then play a team that is, as we've seen, very dangerous. They can pull results. They will grind. They are like how Leeds was last year. They just grind out results and they just go nonstop for 90 plus minutes. I'm not excited that this is the fixture that we come back to. Let's put it that way. I would honestly be more content with going up against like an Everton, even a Leicester. Like I would be happier about that. But Brentford, they're well rested. Chelsea, you got a lot of guys coming back from break. Who knows if Pulisic is even healthy yet? I've seen that he's getting close. I've seen stuff that he's not going to be available. We don't know about Conte. There are just so many unknowns. Who's going to be fit to play? We might be throwing out like the B squad for this match. So I'm a little bit concerned in that regard.
I think Thiago Silva can't play due to COVID restrictions coming back as well. So he's another one that's forced to sit out.
Yeah, the only player that I know and who has looked actually pretty decent this year is Ivan Toney, their striker. Chelsea was interested in him a couple of years ago. Obviously never came to fruition. He's only got 2 goals this year, but he's looked dangerous in the times I've watched him. So I'd be real interested to see how the defense lines up. Who we've got at left back, if we have a left back, throwback to last week's podcast. You got right back. You got two internationals who are coming off of a couple matches this week, and Dave and Reese. Reese didn't try. Sorry, Reese did travel. That's right, because Tuchel is making fun of Gareth Southgate for calling him up. But so the defense should be interesting. But I think that Pulisic plays. I don't think Big Rom plays. He left the Belgian camp with a knock at the end of the week. But Timo Werner's on fire right now. He was lighting it up for Germany this week. I think that combination could put quite a few goals against Brentford.
Timo scored twice, and they were good goals too. I liked what I saw for Timo Werner, so I think he's starting for sure. When I look at Brentford, the thing that stands out is they've scored 10 goals this year in 7 matches. So for a team that's new to the Premier League, that's a big step in the right direction. So they can score goals. So I think we're going to have to score to win, score more than one to win at least. But yeah, it's a tricky one to come back from. It'll be an interesting one, especially given the injury stuff that you guys talked about and the international stuff that we've mentioned. So never a dull moment in the Premier League, I guess. When you look up and down the list, you can look at a lot of teams that you don't want to see, which makes this league really fun. But because you don't really expect Brentford to be on that list, but given the situation, given the scenario, and Matt, you stole my thunder that I was going to compare him to Leeds last year, where fast, aggressive, fun, score goals, give up goals. The 3-3 Liverpool match was. I watched bits and pieces of it. I watched a good chunk of it. It was fun stuff to watch and have on, and so they're putting up some entertaining football, and it'll be a good one. And watching a couple matches beforehand gives us enough time to get liquored up and start yelling at our TVs on 11:30. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have Premier League football back. It's been too long, and I need that Saturday buzz to look forward to. So it's good that it's coming back.
The key point that I see going into this game is who bosses the midfield, who controls that midfield. When we have controlled the midfield, we've looked really good this year. When we have not, we have looked terrible. Given that we have so many players coming back off an international break, and I'm going to tease that we're going to throw our lineups up the day before at Flag Down Pod on Twitter and Instagram. But little quick preview. How do you guys line up your midfield?
I think you run. Did RLC travel with England? I don't think he did. I think with his string of performances lately, you have to put RLC in there. You need somebody who's going to control the midfield, and his size, his poise, his creativity, his strength. Yes, he deserves to start. I haven't seen any reports. Do we know if Conte's back?
I did see he's not fit to play.
So if that's the case, you're probably not going to have little George. I'm sure he played for Italy. You're probably not going to have Kova.
Please go with this where I hope you're going.
You're gonna. Well, I'm going in a different. I think this is a match to give Saul a trot out.
There it is.
I think
that was it.
I thought, Collins, I honestly thought you were hoping for Ross.
I was hoping for Ross.
I think Ross will get. I think Ross is a sub for Saul after about 65 minutes. But I think if you look at, if you're looking at like wing backs or whatever, I don't want to get too far away from the midfield, but they are kind of midfielders. I think you have to run Cho as that right wing back. Like, I don't think there's really another option. I don't know if Chills played. I don't know if Alonso played. Probably not. But, I mean, you have your options there. But I think strictly in the midfield, you run RLC and you run Saul.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I got three in the midfield, and it's all three that you just mentioned: Ross, Saul, and RLC. And I am jacked to see that. It's gonna be great.
I'll go out on a limb and say I think Kovacic probably gets the start with RLC.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's got an engine on him. That's for sure. I don't think that it's going to be an issue, him coming back from that break. And I mean, even if you get 60, 65 minutes out of him, they're going to be very productive minutes. So,
and I wouldn't mind seeing Saul in like a supporting role after we're up 2-0, like come in, solidify, get comfortable, get reacclimated into the team kind of a bit. So that would be my hope. Obviously, if the game doesn't go that way, we can't really do that. But I would hope for him to see him get minutes and then get comfortable again.
All right. So what do we have for score predictions?
3-1 Chelsea.
2-2 draw.
Wow. I'm with Parker. I'm going 3-1. Our defense is still too good, but we've talked about Brentford can score goals, so I think they'll put one through. All right. Well, Matt, Parker obviously living out of town can't necessarily invite you, but Matt, are we going to the Highbury this weekend?
I can probably make that work.
All right. Support your local Chelsea fan group. We got the Milwaukee Blues here, based out of the Highbury pub in Milwaukee. Parker, if you're in Milwaukee, feel free to join.
Ooh, I would love to be in Milwaukee. Maybe I'll come down. And we definitely need to do a pod where all three of us are together in one room, drinking in the same room. But I'll probably be going to Brit's Pub, and big Chelsea supporting there as well. So
it's a beautiful establishment. If you ever get to make it is a beautiful establishment. Highly recommend.
The only knock is it's also a Liverpool bar, but we have separate rooms. It's a small soccer supporter group in the Twin Cities, so we don't have enough bars for every team. But it's good fun, and we tend to get along relatively well.
All right, boys. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for this week. You got any closing thoughts? Anything you want to add?
Nope. Premier League back again. I think we're all in that same boat.
Yes,
go Chelsea.
Thank God the Premier League's back, and go Chelsea. All right. So, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you, boys, for coming on and agreeing to do this a little later in the week to accommodate my schedule. You can always follow us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at FlagDownPod. You can catch us on really anywhere where you can get your podcasts. Just search Flag Stays Down. And thanks again for listening. And we'll talk to you guys, not next week, but in a couple days.
Cheers.
Sounds good. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.